example, we're going to actually solve the partial fraction decomposition. So let's start off by setting it up. So we have x plus 2 over x, and then x minus 1 squared equals a over x plus b. Then we have our repeated one, which is x minus 1 squared. And then we're going to write it again, but we're going to decrease by 1. So x minus 1. Our next step, just like the other one we solved, we're going to multiply by this initial denominator here, this x and then x minus 1 squared. This will allow us to cancel not almost all of our denominators, because that is the common denominator. So in the first term, we're going to end up canceling the whole denominator, which will leave me with x plus 2. And then a over x, when I multiply, the x will cancel, leaving me with a and an x minus 1 squared plus b. When I multiply, the x minus 1 squared will cancel and just leave me with bx. For my c term, only one of the x minus 1s is going to cancel, so I'm going to be left with x and one extra x minus 1. The next step we're going to do is we are going to actually expand this out, FOIL it out, if you will. So you can FOIL it on your computer, on your calculator, or you can do it in your head or by hand, whatever. When we FOIL this out, we get x squared minus 2x plus 1 plus bx plus, and I'm going to go ahead and distribute this x, so I get c and then x squared minus x. Next, we'll distribute our a, b, and c. B doesn't really need to be distributed. It's already been distributed to the one term x. So let's distribute our a. 8 times x squared is ax squared. A times negative 2x is negative 2ax. A times 1 will give us a. And then I have a plus bx. Now we're going to distribute our c. Plus c times x squared is cx squared. C times negative x is negative cx. I'm going to group these the way we grouped before. Let's start with our x squareds in order. So we have ax squared and a plus cx squared. There's my first group. My next group are going to be my x's. I'm going to start with the b because it's positive. So I have a plus bx, a minus 2ax, and a minus cx. There's my second group for my x term, and then all that's left is this lonesome plus a, so plus a. We're going to factor out what they have in common, so this one has an x squared in common, so I'm going to have a plus c x squared. These all have an x in common, so here I'm going to have b minus 2a minus c, and then an x, and then a is just by itself. So I know my initial part here was x plus 2, but I'm going to write it like this: 0x squared, a 1x, and a plus 2. What this allows me to do is to say a plus c is equal to 0. And then this mess here equals 1. So b minus 2a minus c equals 1. And then this equals our last term, which is a. So a equals 2. And I'm sure you can solve this by hand. It's not a difficult one to do by hand. I went ahead and just typed it into my calculator the same way, except this time when you press menu algebra, instead of just 2 equations, we're going to have 3. And then you can see when you jump down here, it changes it to x, y, z, so you can change it to a, b, c. Once you change it and enter your equations, this is what you get. We end up with A equals 2, B equals 3, and C equals -2. So for our final answer, we replace our A, B, and C in our initial equation that we found in our setup up here. We're going to replace A, B, and C with what they actually are. So my final answer will be the expression 2 over x plus 3 over x minus 1 squared. C is negative, so I'm going to put it as -2 and then over x minus 1. If I were to add these all together, we would end up with exactly what we have up here.